Harmony Protocol classified the wedding planner as a defensive asset at 3:47 hours, and I still can't get anyone to explain why. Let me back up. I'm Kingston, been running security at this academy for 6 cycles now, 6 cycles of keeping students from killing each other, preventing diplomatic incidents, and making sure the predator species cubs don't eat anything they shouldn't. Standard stuff, boring even. Then Vera showed up. She wasn't supposed to be interesting. Humans rarely are, at least not in ways that trigger security protocols. They're soft, they're slow, they're aggressively social. We hired her to plan the dean's retirement celebration because apparently humans have elevated party planning to an actual profession. Fine, whatever. I filed her paperwork under civilian low priority and forgot about her. That classification lasted 3 weeks. I got the first alert during my morning reports. Harmony Protocol, our station AI, had moved Vera from low priority to high value civilian. That's a designation we use for visiting dignitary species representatives, people whose deaths would cause interstellar incidents, not wedding planners. I pulled up her file. Nothing had changed. Human, female, age 31. Standard cycles employed in event coordination. Emergency contact listed as her mother. Back on Earth, no military service, no scientific credentials, no diplomatic status. The only note in her file was from facilities. Requested desk moved closer to window. Approved. I tagged Harmony for a diagnostic. The system had been glitchy lately, probably just a classification error. Then I got the second alert: predator nursery breach, 3 cubs unaccounted for. I was moving before the message finished. Displaying predator cubs loose in the station meant lock-on protocols. Tranquilizer teams, the whole catastrophe. These weren't some fluffy domesticated creatures. These were Catholic young, all fur and fangs and claws from a species that hunted in packs on a death world. Cute, sure, but cute the way a knife is. Shiny. I pulled up security feeds while I ran. The cubs had left the nursery 20 minutes ago. 20 minutes. They'd bypassed 3 security checkpoints, 2 locked doors, and somehow disabled the motion sensors. In corridor 5, the tracking signal led me to the administrative wing, to the event planning office, to Vera. I burst through the door expecting carnage. Blood maybe, screaming definitely. At minimum, I expected to find Vera backed into a corner while 3 apex predator cubs stalked her. Instead, I found her asleep at her desk, with all 3 cubs curled around her like house cats. I stood there, just stood there. 1 cub had draped itself across her shoulders like a particularly large scarf. Another was wedged between her and the desk, its head on her lap. The third had somehow squeezed itself into the small space behind her chair, pressed against her back. All 3 were purring. Predator cubs don't purr, they growl. They hiss, they make that chattering sound before they pounce. They don't purr. Vera's desk was covered in fabric samples and catering menus. A half-empty cup of something sat next to her hand. She'd clearly been working late and just fallen asleep right there, completely unaware that she'd acquired 3 juvenile killing machines as sleeping companions. I must have made a noise because her eyes opened. She blinked at me, yawned. Morning, she said. Is it morning? What time is it? The cub on her shoulders stretched, extending claws that could have opened her throat. she reached up, absently, and scratched behind its ears. It purred louder. Don't move, I managed. She looked down at the cub in her lap. Oh, when did you guys get here? When did they, Vera? Those are craft cubs, predator species. Do you understand what I'm saying? I mean, I figured they've got the teeth for it. She scratched the lap cub under its chin. Its back legs started thumping. They're pretty cute, though. Why are they in my office? They escaped from the high security nursery. How are you this calm? She shrugged, which made the shoulder cub readjust its position. I've dealt with worse. Had a bride throw a champagne bottle at me once. These guys just seem sleepy. I activated my comm. This is Kicksthon. Found the cubs. Event planning office. Send Nara from xenobiology and bring the portable containment units. Copy that. Dispatch responded. Are there injuries? I looked at Vera, who was now checking her messages with one hand while petting a cub with the other. No injuries, I said. Director, the cubs are reading as calm. Is that accurate? I looked at the 3 purring, contented predators, currently using a human as furniture. That's accurate. Nara arrived in 6 minutes. I spent those 6 minutes watching Vera go through her morning routine while 3 predator cubs followed her around the office like ducklings. She made coffee. They watched. She watered her desk plant. They sniffed it. She pulled up her calendar. One cub tried to walk across her keyboard and she gently moved it aside. It let her. When Velnara came through the door, I'd never been more grateful to see the xenobiology head in my life. Okay, Nara said, taking in the scene. That's not supposed to be possible. That's what I thought. Crack cubs don't tolerate handling from unknown species. They barely tolerate handling from their own parents. Nara pulled out her scanner. How long have they been like this? At least 20 minutes before I arrived, probably longer. Nara scanned Vera, then the cubs. Her expression went from concerned to confused to completely baffled. The cubs are exhibiting pack bonding behavior, she said, with a human. Yes. That's not in their behavioral profile. No, it's not. Venara moved closer. The cubs tracked her movement but didn't react aggressively. May I try something? Vera looked up from her coffee. Sure. Nara reached for the cub on Vera's shoulders the moment her hand got within 10 cm. The cub hissed. Not the baby warning hiss, the actual threat display. Nara pulled back. Fascinating. Not the word I'd use, I said. They're protecting her. They've designated her as part of their pack structure. Nara circled around, keeping her distance. Vera, have you been to the predator nursery? No, I've barely left this office since I got here. Too much planning to do. Have you handled anything from the nursery? Blankets, toys, food? No. Then how did they? Trailed off, scanning again. Director, pull up the security footage. I need to see how they got here. I pulled it up on my wrist display. We watched the cubs navigate through the station. They didn't wander. They didn't explore. They moved with purpose. Straight toward the administrative wing. Straight toward Vera's office. They tracked her, Vara said quietly. Across 3 corridors and 2 sealed doors. Through areas they've never been before. We looked at Vera. She was showing one of the cubs a picture on her tablet. It appeared to be very interested in the flower arrangements. I'm putting in a call to Hex, Venara said. This is beyond my expertise. Atrax is on the home world. Then I guess he's taking a trip. My comm. Chimed Harmony Protocol again. I pulled up the message. Ver's classification had been upgraded again. She was now listed under defensive priority status, the same category we used for the reactor, core, and the atmospheric generators. Var, I said, look at this. She read the message, blinked, read it again. The AI thinks she's critical infrastructure. Apparently, because of 3 cubs. Before I could answer, every alarm in the Predator nursery went off at once. I pulled up the feeds. 12 more cubs were attempting to breach containment, not randomly, not in a panic. They were all moving in the same direction toward Ver's office. Oh no. Nara said. Vera looked up from her tablet. Is everything okay? The 3 cubs at her feet stood up, their ears swiveled toward the nursery. Then they moved to position themselves between Vera and the door, forming a protective triangle. Everything, I said slowly, is about to get very complicated. You know what's worse than 3 Predator cubs bonding with a human wedding planner? 15 Predator cubs bonding with a human wedding planner. The nursery staff got 12 of them corralled into the corridor before they gave up. Not because the cubs were aggressive, because they were determined. Have you ever tried to redirect a crafted cub that's decided where it needs to be? It's like arguing with gravity. I watched them pour into Vera's office. Through the doorway, 12 bundles of fur and teeth, and way too much enthusiasm. The original 3 immediately started some kind of greeting ritual, all chirping and head bumping. The new arrivals went straight for Vera. She was still holding her coffee. Oh, she said as cubs swarmed around her. Legs, there's more of you. One climbed up her back. Another tried to fit itself into the gap between her and the desk. Third sat directly on her foot and looked up at her like she was the most important thing in the universe. She took a sip of coffee. Vera, I said, are you aware that you're currently surrounded by 15 juvenile apex predators, 16 if you count the one trying to get into my filing cabinet? She pointed. Sure enough, a cub had wedged itself halfway into the bottom drawer. Should I be worried? Nara was frantically taking readings. Their stress hormones are dropping. All of them being near her is calming them down. That doesn't make sense, I said. Nothing about this makes sense. Nara looked at me. We need to contain this situation before the entire nursery decides to relocate. Too late, my comm chimed again. 3 more cubs had left containment. I called up to the command center. Seal the Predator nursery. Full lockdown. Nobody in or out without my authorization. Sir, the cubs are all ready. I know where the cubs are. Just seal it. Vera had somehow acquired a lap full of cubs. She was scrolling through her tablet with one hand, petting whichever cub was closest with the other. They were taking turns. So she said, not looking up, is someone going to tell me what's happening, or should I just keep improvising? We don't know what's happening, Bara admitted. Okay, well, do you know why they came here? They tracked you across half the station. Huh, Vera thought about this. Are they hungry? They seem like they might be hungry. I checked the nursery logs. They were fed 3 hours ago. 3 hours is a long time when you're little. She looked at the cubs. You guys hungry? 15 heads turned toward her in unison. 15 pairs of eyes locked onto her face. I'm taking that as a yes, she said. Do you have food for them, or should I improvise? That too. Nara contacted the nursery staff. They brought up specialized nutrition packs, formulated specifically for crafting. Development: high protein, specific vitamin ratios. Temperature controlled, very technical. Very expensive. Vera looked at the nutrition packs. Looked at the cubs, looked back at the packs. These are color-coded, she said. Different developmental stages, Velnara explained. Blue for the youngest, green for middle development, yellow for got it. Vera started sorting cubs. You're blue, you're green, you two are yellow. You're H, you're right on the border. Aren't you? We'll start you on green and see how it goes. She'd organized them into groups in under 2 minutes. Nara stared. How did you know which developmental stage each cub is in? Size, tooth development, how coordinated they are. Vera shrugged. Same way you'd figure out ages at a kid's birthday party. These aren't human children. No, but they're still kids. Vera started distributing the nutrition packs. The cubs ate calmly, staying in their assigned groups. See, they just needed structure. I activated my comm again. This is Kix. Then I need Instructor Herax here as soon as possible. I don't care if he's in the middle of something. This is Priority Alpha. Director Dispatch responded. Instructor Herax is on the home world. It'll take him at least, then tell him to start traveling now. I turned back to Vera's office. It had transformed into a makeshift nursery. Cubs everywhere. Some eating, some playing with scraps of ribbon. They'd found some just sitting and watching Vera work. She'd gone back to her tablet, catering menus from the look of it. Venara said carefully, can you stop what you're doing for a moment? Sure. Vera sat down the tablet. Every cub in the room stopped and looked at her. Okay, Velara said, start again. Vera picked up the tablet. The cubs went back to whatever they'd been doing. There, monitoring her. Velara said constantly, if she shows distress, they'll react. She's not showing distress. She's planning a party. Exactly. Nara pulled me aside. Director, I need to try something. Standard predator cub management protocol. If it works, we can get them back to the nursery. If it doesn't, then we have a bigger problem than I thought. Nara stepped into the center of the room. She pulled out a sonic emitter, the kind we used to guide cubs during training. It broadcast at a frequency that triggered following behavior, made them want to move toward a designated area. She activated it. The cubs ignored her completely. She adjusted the frequency. Nothing. She tried the backup setting we used for stubborn individuals. Not even a head turn. They should be responding, she said. This is hardwired behavior. They can't just ignore it. One of the cubs yawned. Nara tried 3 more settings. The cubs continued to ignore her. One of them fell asleep on Vera's foot. This is impossible, Velnara said. You keep using that word, I said. I'm starting to think it doesn't mean what we think it means. My comm chimed. Harmony protocol again. I was starting to hate that sound. AI had logged another classification change. Vera was now listed as equivalent to life support systems. Critical infrastructure. Lose her, lose station stability. Velnara, I said, the AI is insisting that Vera is essential to station operations. That's ridiculous. She's an event planner. Tell that to Harmony. We both looked at Vera. She'd found a ball of string somewhere and was dragging it across the floor. 8 cubs were chasing it, pouncing and tumbling. Over each other, they were playing. Catholic cubs don't play with other species, they're too aggressive too territorial, they barely play with each other without supervision. I'm going to contact the Academy administration. Vilnara said, this needs to go up the Agi chain. They're going to think we've lost our minds. Then they can come down here and see for themselves. Nara left. I stayed mostly because someone needed to monitor the situation. Also because I was having trouble believing what I was seeing. Vera had created a feeding schedule. She'd written it on a piece of paper and stuck it to her wall, color-coded blue. Group at 800, 1,200,600 and 2,000. Green. Group offset by 1 hour. Yellow group. Offset by 2. You're planning to keep them here, I asked. Well, they don't seem to want to leave. She scratched a cub behind the ears. It made that purring sound again. And honestly, they're less demanding than most wedding parties. At least, they're not asking me to violate the laws of physics with the seating arrangements. Vera, these are predator cubs from a species that requires specialized care and controlled environments. They're children who want someone to pay attention to them. She looked at me. When's the last time someone just sat with them, not fed them or cleaned up after them or ran tests, just sat? I didn't have an answer for that. Vera went back to her work. The cubs settled into a comfortable arrangement around her desk, some sleeping, some gnawing on the nutrition packs, some just watching her with those enormous eyes. It looked almost normal, domestic even. Then Instructor Herax arrived. He came through the door like a storm, all authority and expertise. Hax was crack himself from the home world. If anyone could handle this situation, it was him. He took one look at the scene and stopped dead. No, he said. Yes, I replied. That's not possible. You're the third person to say that today. Frax moved closer, careful not to startle the cubs. They watched him but didn't react defensively. They knew their own species when they saw it. These cubs have imprinted, he said. Slowly. On the human, I confirmed. Crack cubs don't imprint on other species. We don't even imprint on each other outside immediate family groups. Apparently, there's an exception. Crack studied Vera. She was showing a cub how to bat at the string without getting tangled. The cub was learning. How long has she been with them? Rex asked. She hasn't. They came to her. That's even less possible. My calm chimed again. This time it wasn't Harmony Protocol. It was the nursery director. We have a situation. The remaining cubs are showing distress behavior, elevated stress hormones, vocalization, attempting to breach containment. I looked at the cubs in Vera's office, all calm, all content. How many cubs are still in the nursery? I asked. 5, sir. And how many are with Vera? 15. I did the math. 20 cubs. Total 15 with Vera, calm and well behaved. 5 in the nursery, losing their minds. Harmony Protocol chose that moment to broadcast an academy-wide alert, priority alpha station-wide notification. Vera's biosignature had been elevated to critical infrastructure status. Lose her, the system warned, and station stability was at risk. The AI wasn't malfunctioning, it was right. The Academy administration took exactly 43 minutes to assemble an emergency committee. I know because I counted every single minute while trying to Explained to them that no, I wasn't having a breakdown, and yes, the AI really had classified a human wedding planner as critical infrastructure. They didn't believe me until they saw the Cubs. Dean Corfax arrived first, followed by 3 department heads and a representative from station operations. They crowded into Vera's office doorway and just stared. Vera had organized nap time. I'm not making this up. She dimmed the lights, put on some kind of soft human music from her tablet, and arranged 15 predator cubs into neat sleeping groups, color-coded by feeding schedule: blues together, greens together, yellows together. They were all asleep. That's not possible, Dean Corfax said. If one more person says that, I muttered. Crack stepped forward. Dean, I've spent 20 cycles studying Craig behavioral development. This violates everything we know about the species. Then explain it, Corfax demanded. I can't. Vera looked up from her tablet. Oh, hi, are you here about the retirement party? Because I have some questions about the dietary restrictions. We're here about the Cubs, Corfax said. They're fine, just needed a schedule. She gestured at her wall, which now had 3 different charts: feeding times, play periods, quiet hours, all color-coded. They were probably overstimulated. Too much going on, not enough predictability. Nara had her scanner out again. Dean, the Cubs' stress hormones are at baseline. Some are even below baseline. This level of calm is unusual even in optimal nursery conditions. How? One of the department heads asked. She gave them a nap schedule, I said. Everyone turned to look at me. A nap schedule, Corfax repeated, and color-coded feeding groups and quiet time. Apparently that's all it took. The station operations representative pulled out his own tablet. Harmony Protocol has been monitoring the situation. The AI's analysis suggests that Vera's presence is stabilizing the Cubs at a neurological level. That's absurd, Corfax said. She's not doing anything, she's just sitting there. Exactly, Pra said quietly. She's just sitting there, being calm, being predictable, being present. We all looked at Vera again. She'd gone back to comparing catering options. A blue group cub had climbed into her lap and was snoring softly. We need to test something, Harak said. Vera, would you be willing to leave the office for a few minutes? Sure, I need more coffee anyway. She stood up carefully, moving the sleeping cub to her chair. Then she walked out. The cub stayed asleep for approximately 90 seconds. Then the first one woke up, looked around, made a questioning chirp. The second one woke, then the third. Within 2 minutes, all 15 cubs were awake and agitated. They searched the office, checking every corner, looking under the desk, investigating the filing cabinet. Their chirps got louder, more distressed. One started pawing at the door. How long has she been gone? Valera asked. 2 minutes 30 seconds, I said. They're escalating fast. Nara checked her scanner. Stress hormones spiking. Another minute and they'll start showing aggression indicators. Harak's moved toward the door. I'll get her. He didn't need to. Vera came back on her own, coffee in hand. The cubs mobbed her, not aggressively, just desperately, climbing up her legs, pressing against her, making those little chirping sounds. She sat down and they piled onto her, like she was the only safe space in the universe. What happened? She asked, looking at all of us. They missed you, Harak said. He sounded shaken. 3 minutes apart and they missed you. Oh. Vera petted the nearest cub. Sorry. Guys, I just needed caffeine. The cubs settled down. Some went back to sleep, others stayed awake but calm, just maintaining contact with her. Corex pulled me and Herax into the corridor. Explain this to me, he said, in terms that make sense. The cubs have formed a pack bond with Vera, Herax said specifically. They've identified her as their pack alpha, their primary attachment figure. Remove her and they experience immediate separation distress. Why her, I have no idea. That's not good enough, Dean. With respect, I don't have a better answer. Catholic cubs don't do this. They bond with their birth parents, sometimes with a carefully introduced caregiver after months of supervised contact. They don't spontaneously adopt a random human as their pack leader. But they did, I said. Yes, they did. Corfax looked back through the doorway. What does Harmony Protocol say? I pulled up the AI's latest analysis. Harmony has been monitoring Vera's interactions with the cubs. According to the system, she's exhibiting what it calls optimal caregiver behavioral patterns: consistent presence, calm demeanor, predictable responses, clear structure. Those are things any competent caregiver should provide, Corfax said. Yes, but according to the nursery logs, the cubs have had 8 different caregivers in the past month. Different shifts, different species, different approaches, no consistency. Nara pulled up the nursery records on her tablet. The director's right. We've had staffing issues, high turnover, shift changes, species rotation for diversity training. From the cub perspective, nothing's been stable. Then Vera shows up, Cracks continued. Human, unknown but consistent. She's in the same office every day, same schedule, same behavior patterns. She's the most stable thing in their environment. They tracked her, I added, through corridors they'd never seen before, past checkpoints, through sealed doors. They found the one source of consistency in the entire station and latched onto it. Corfax was quiet for a long moment. What about the cubs still in the nursery? My comm answered for me. Nursery staff sent an emergency alert. The remaining 5 cubs were attempting to breach containment again. Stress levels critical. They want what the others have, Vilnara said. They want stability. So what do we do? Corex asked. We can't keep 15 predator cubs in an event planning office. Why not? Vera called from inside. I've worked in smaller spaces. We all looked at her. I'm sorry, what? Corex said. I mean, it's not ideal, but they're managing. We'd need better ventilation and probably some climbing structures, maybe some different flooring, but it's doable. You want to convert your office into a nursery, Corfax said slowly, more like a nursery office hybrid. I still have work to do, she gestured at her charts. Plus, I've already got the scheduling system set up. Seems wasteful to start over. Cracks made a sound that might have been a laugh or might have been despair. She's serious. Of course I'm serious. Look at them. Vera pointed at the sleeping cubs. They're happy, calm, following instructions, better behaved than half the wedding parties I've worked with. Why would we change what's working? Because it's insane, I said. Is it, or is it just weird? She sipped her coffee. I've planned weddings in barns, on boats, in caves. One time I coordinated a ceremony on an active volcano because the couple thought it was romantic. This is strange, but it's not the strangest thing I've done, my comm chimed. Harmony Protocol again. The AI had run projections. If Vera continued her current care patterns, projected cub development would exceed all baseline expectations. Social integration, learning curves, stress management, all trending positive. If Vera was removed from the situation, the system projected a 78% chance of critical behavioral incidents within 48 hours. I showed the report to Cortex. He read it, then read it again, then handed it to Nara. The AI is saying we need her, he said. The AI is saying the cubs need consistency, Nara corrected. Vera just happens to be providing it. Can't we train someone else, transfer her methods to nursery staff? Pra shook his head. Pack bonding doesn't work that way. The cubs have chosen her. You can't just substitute another caregiver. So we're stuck with this unless you want to risk the cubs' development. Yes. Corfax looked at me. Director, your assessment. I thought about the past 6 hours. The cubs bypassing every security protocol. The spontaneous pack formation, the color-coded feeding charts. Vera sitting calmly in the middle of chaos, treating juvenile predators like slightly rowdy party guests. Harmony protocol is right, I said. Vera is stabilizing a volatile situation. Remove her and we're looking at behavioral problems that could take months to resolve. Keep her in the cubs. Develop normally, maybe better than normally. This is going to look insane in my reports, Corfax muttered. Sir, the station operations rep said. Harmony has flagged another issue. Of course it has. The 5 cubs remaining in the nursery are showing escalating distress. Their stress levels are approaching dangerous thresholds. We all knew what that meant. Distressed predator cubs became unpredictable, aggressive, dangerous to themselves and others. Vera stood up, dislodging several sleeping cubs. Bring them here. Excuse me, Cortex said. The other 5, bring them here. If being here helps, they should be here too. That's 20 cubs, I said. I can count. She looked at her office. We'll need to rearrange the furniture, move that filing cabinet, clear some floor space. But yeah, 20 is manageable. Kraz was staring at her like she'd suggested juggling plasma grenades. You understand these are predator cubs, he said. Apex species. Potentially dangerous. You understand, I once managed a wedding with 300 guests, an open bar, and a family feud that dated back 4 generations. She smiled. I've handled worse. My comm erupted with alerts. Power surge in the predator nursery. Environmental systems failing. Temperature dropping. Humidity spiking. The remaining 5 cubs were panicking. Emergency protocols engaged. The system was trying to compensate, but the cubs were causing more damage in their distress. Vera grabbed her tablet. Harmony, can you route audio to the nursery? The AI responded immediately. Connection established. Hey guys, Vera said, her voice broadcasting through the nursery speakers. I know you're scared, I know things are loud and wrong right now, but I need you to listen to me, okay? Take a breath, just breathe. The nursery feeds showed the cubs stopping listening. That's good. You're doing great. Now I need you to do something for me. Find the door. Big door, can you see it? The cubs moved toward the nursery entrance. Perfect, now sit down right there and wait. Someone's coming to get you. You're going to come here where your siblings are. We've got food and it's quiet and you can sleep. But I need you to stay calm until help arrives. Can you do that? The cub sat still, agitated, but sitting waiting. Director, Vera said, looking at me. Someone should probably go get them now. I'd been in security for 6 cycles. Handled diplomatic incidents, prevented 3 riots, and once talked down a student who'd brought an unauthorized plasma weapon to campus. I was trained for crisis management. Nothing in my training covered escorting 5 terrified predator cubs through station corridors while a human wedding planner gave them breathing exercises over the comm system. That's it, Vera's voice echoed through the corridor. In through your nose, out through your mouth. You're doing amazing. The cubs followed me, but they weren't following me. Their eyes kept darting to the speakers, tracking Vera's voice. One of them stumbled, and immediately 2 others moved to support it. Pack behavior. They were already functioning as a unit. Almost there, Vera said. Kicks, how close are they? 30 seconds, I reported. Okay guys, you hear that? 30 seconds. Count with me. 1, 2, 3. She counted to 30. The cubs walked in time with her, counting. When we reached her office door, all 5 sat down in perfect unison. Can they come in now? Vera asked. I opened the door. The 5 newcomers rushed inside. The 15 already there swarmed to greet them, chirping, head bumping, that weird purring sound. New cubs were stressed clearly, but the moment they made contact with the others, their body language shifted from panic to relief. Vera was on the floor with them. All 20 cubs arranged themselves around her in concentric circles, the most distressed ones closest, the calm ones on the outside. She touched each one, a hand on a head, here scratching behind ears, there just acknowledging their presence. Everybody okay? She asked. 20 cubs looked at her. Some chirped, some just stared, but they were all calm. Good. She pulled herself up using the desk. We need more space and better ventilation and probably some kind of climbing structure, because some of you are clearly climbers. She looked at her. Do you have specifications for optimal cub environments? He just nodded, speechless. Great, send them to my tablet. I'll work up a layout. She glanced at her wall calendar. The dean's retirement party is in 3 weeks. I need to get that locked down first, but after that we can do renovations. You're planning to continue your regular work? Korak said. It wasn't a question. Well, yeah, I still have a job. She pulled up her tablet. Speaking of which, I need final approval on the catering menu. The Yithan delegation has specific protein requirements, and the caterer is pushing back on the preparation timeline. She said it like she wasn't currently sitting in the middle of 20 predator cubs. Nara was scanning everything, her expression cycling between fascination and disbelief. Dean, the cub's stress hormones are normalizing, all of them, even the 5 who just arrived. How long? Korax asked. They've been here less than 5 minutes. Krax moved carefully through the cubs, studying their behavior. They watched him but didn't react defensively. He knelt down near a blue group cub, one of the youngest. May I? He asked. Vera, sure. He reached toward the cub. It allowed the contact. Let him check its teeth, examine its paws, assess its overall condition. Healthy, he said. Better than healthy. The muscle tone is excellent. Coat quality is optimal. This cub is thriving. They're all thriving, Nara added. According to these readings, they're developing ahead of schedule, social. Behaviors, learning indicators, stress. Management all accelerated. Uvira said absently, scrolling through. Catering options, kids need structure. Doesn't matter what species, you give them predictability, they feel safe. They feel safe, they develop properly. It's not just structure, Hack said. Slowly. I've seen structured environments, optimal care protocols. This is something else. What is it then? I asked. He watched Vera work. 3 cubs had climbed onto her lap, 2 more were leaning against her legs. She was petting one with her free hand while composing a message to the caterer with the other. She wasn't doing anything special, she was just there, present, calm, consistent. She cares, Rex said finally, not as an assignment, not as a protocol. She just genuinely cares about their well-being. I mean their kids, Vera said, looking up. Of course I care. They didn't ask to be here, didn't ask to be scared. Least I can do is make sure they're okay. My comm chimed, not an alert this time, a status report from Harmony. Protocol, the AI had completed its analysis. Vera's classification as critical infrastructure was now permanent. The system had created new protocols around her, backup power, routing to her office, priority, environmental controls, emergency response teams on standby. The station had reorganized itself around a human wedding planner and 20 predator cubs. Harmony has locked in the classification, I told Corfax. He looked at the AI's report, then at Vera, then at the cubs. This is going to be interesting to explain to the oversight committee, he said. Tell them it's a pilot program, Vera suggested. Civilian integration specialist, testing new approaches to predator species care. Makes it sound official. You've thought about this, Corfax said. I've been thinking about it for the last hour. Someone was going to ask eventually. She pulled up a document on her tablet. I drafted a proposal, basic outline of care protocols, scheduling system, developmental milestones, space requirements. It's rough, but it's a starting point. She'd written a care proposal while managing 20 cubs and planning a retirement party. Corfax took her tablet, read through the proposal. His expression shifted from skeptical to considering to reluctantly impressed. This is actually comprehensive, he said. I've written a lot of event proposal, same basic structure, what you need, why you need it, how much it'll cost, what the outcome looks like. You're treating predator cub care like an event. I'm treating it like a project that needs management, which it is. She took the tablet back. So do I get the job officially, or am I doing this as a volunteer? Corex looked at me. I shrugged. You're serious about this, he said to Vera. Completely. Look, I know it's weird. I know it breaks about 50 different protocols, but it's working. The cubs are healthy and happy, Harmony says. Station stability is improved. Why would we stop? Because it's unprecedented, Korak said. So was the first person who thought to train animals. So was the first integration program. So was hiring a human wedding planner for an alien academy. She gestured around the office. Everything's unprecedented until someone does it first. Crack stood up. Dean, I recommend we accept her proposal with supervision and regular assessments, but we should accept it. We're seeing developmental outcomes that exceed anything in the literature. This could change how we approach predator species integration. across multiple stations. It could also fail catastrophically. Corfax said it could, but right now it's succeeding. Rex looked at the cubs. They found what they needed. We'd be fools to take it away. Nara nodded. I agree. The data supports continuation with proper monitoring. This could become a model program. Corfax was quiet for a long moment. 20 cubs watched him with enormous eyes. Vera waited, one hand still absently petting the cub in her lap. Fine, Corfax said, provisional approval. Vera, you're officially designated as Civilian Integration Specialist for the Predator Cub Program. We'll renovate your space, provide proper equipment, assign support staff, but this is monitored closely. Any indication of problems, we reevaluate immediately. Fair enough. Vera stuck out her hand. Corfax looked at it, then shook it. Human gesture. He'd adapted. I'll need regular reports, he continued. Developmental assessments, behavioral observations, care protocols, everything documented. I can do that. I'm good at documentation. She pulled up her calendar. First report by next week. That gives me time to get proper baseline measurements. Acceptable. Corfax headed for the door, then paused. Vera, why are you doing this? You were hired to plan parties, not raise predator cubs. She thought about it. Someone needed to, and I was here. Sometimes that's enough. After they left, it was just me, Vera, and 20 predator cubs. You realize this is insane. I said you've mentioned that. She was back to her catering menus. Blue group dinner in 20 minutes. Can you grab the nutrition packs from the storage unit? I grabbed them because apparently this was my life now. Security director turned nursery assistant. Harmony. Vera said, can you flag my calendar for feeding times and set reminders for the cubs? Developmental checkups. The AI responded immediately. Calendar updated. Reminders set. Environmental controls optimized for cub comfort. The station had accepted its new reality. I distributed nutrition packs according to her color-coded system. The cubs ate calmly, organized into their groups. When they finished, some played with the string toy Vera had found. Others climbed on the furniture sheet, strategically arranged. A few just slept. Normal cub behavior, but stable, manageable, happy. Vera finished her message to the caterer and set down her tablet. Okay, Dean's retirement party menu is locked. Next up is the decorations committee meeting, but that's not until tomorrow. She looked at the cubs. You guys want story time before bed? 20 cubs perked up. She pulled up something on her tablet, started reading some human story about a very hungry caterpillar. The cubs listened, entranced. I stood in the doorway and watched a human wedding planner reading children's stories to 20 predator cubs while a station AI classified her as critical infrastructure. My comm was quiet. No alerts, no emergencies, just the sound of Ver's voice and the occasional sleepy chirp from a cub. Harmony protocol sent one final message. Station stability optimal, all systems normal, threat level minimal. The AI was right again. Vera finished the story. The cubs were mostly asleep now, arranged around her in peaceful piles of fur and contentment. She pulled up her work calendar, checking tomorrow's tasks. 3 cubs slept under her desk. One was draped across her shoulders like a scarf. Just another day at the academy. Nothing unusual, Nothing impossible. Just Vera doing what Vera did, making chaos manageable, one color coded. Schedule at a time. 3 months later I filed my quarterly security report. Under notable incidents I wrote 0. Behavioral issues in predator cub. Program. Developmental milestones. Exceeded across all metrics. I didn't mention that Vera had expanded her operation to include 2 other predator species, or that she'd started teaching integration workshops to nursery staff from 3 neighboring stations, or that Harmony Protocol now automatically routed all juvenile predator care through her office. The dean's retirement party went off perfectly. By the way, Vera planned it between feeding schedules and nap times, even got the cubs to participate as honorary greeters. They wore little ceremonial ribbons. It was adorable and terrifying in equal measure. The academy officially renamed her position Director of Juvenile Predator Integration and Special Events. She kept both business cards on her desk. The cubs liked to knock them onto the floor. Last week I found her booking a wedding venue while a cub chewed on her stylus, and another slept in her filing cabinet. She'd color-coded the seating chart. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Perfect," she said, scratching a cub behind the ears. "Just another day." "Yeah, just another."